we're going to be solving an order of operations problem, and we're going to use PEMDAS. PEMDAS tells us which order we're going to solve the operations in. The first thing we need to remember with math is that we always solve from left to right. Then, we also use PEMDAS. So, the P represents parentheses, so we look at the parentheses if we have any, and if there's operations inside them, we solve those first. Next, we solve for exponents. That's the E. Then, the M and the D represent multiplication and division. And finally, the A and the S represent addition and subtraction. Now, when we use PEMDAS, it's important to remember that we only use the parts of it that we need. We follow the order, but if we run out of operations to perform, then we're simply done. Not all order of operations or PEMDAS problems are going to have all of the parts that they could have. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to evaluate our problem here. What that means is, we're going to look at it. I'm looking from left to right. And I'm starting with the P from PEMDAS, which means parentheses. So what I notice is I have two sets of parentheses here. So by moving from left to right, that means I should first deal with this parentheses, the first one on the left. So 15 divided by 3. So I can solve that first, and I'm just going to put the answer to that in a set of parentheses. So 15 divided by 3 is going to give me an answer of 5. Now I can just recopy the rest of my equation here. Okay, so now, as much as the 5 is in a pair of parentheses, there's no more operation there. So the next thing we can do is we're still on the P in PEMDAS, and we can deal with the operation inside the second set of parentheses. So I'm just going to recopy the part of the equation that I'm not dealing with right now. And then I can look at my second set of parentheses and solve it. So 6 minus 3 just gives me an answer of 3. So I can put that back in the parentheses. And I need to remember about my exponent 2 there. So I have now solved all the operations in parentheses. And I can move on to the E in PEMDAS, which stands for exponent. And we do have an exponent here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to recopy my 5, as we're not dealing with that right now. I'm going to look at the second part of this equation, which is 3 to the exponent 2. Now, we do have these parentheses here, but we solve this the same as if they weren't there. 3 in parentheses to the power of 2 is equal to the same thing as 3 to the power of 2. So 3 exponent 2 is just equal to 9. And I can just write the 9 here, and this just means that this 9 is multiplied by this 5. So I can place a multiplication symbol here, or I could just simply put a set parentheses here. Doesn't matter. So when we have two numbers or more beside each other, and they're all enclosed in parentheses, it just means they're multiplied by each other. So we can rewrite this as 5 times 9. Okay, so looking back at PEMDAS, we've taken care of the P, which is parentheses. We took care of the E, which means exponents. Now we're on the M and the D, which is multiplication and division. To be honest, we just have one operation out here. It happens to be multiplication. Doesn't really matter at this point. We could just solve whatever's left. It just also happens to be the next thing we see with PEMDAS. So we can just go ahead and solve it. 5 times 9, and that equals 45. And that's our answer.